I bet $50 you won't find a single track without a vocal on EDM top charts. It's always either an original a cappella, cringy chop from Splice, or a one-shot. Screw it, even AI-generated vocals about your grandma's panties will work better than having no vocal at all. That's because a wise producer knows that human voice will make anything sound familiar, easy to memorize no matter the language you speak. Don't place vocal chops anywhere you can. For example, this part feels like a treat. It's too busy, but the second one I did here have just enough room to place vocal chops. So what I always like to do is to find a single vowel or phrase. Let's just start with this one, cut it, and try to come up with a rhythm with it. Let's make it a little bit shorter than here as well. Copy it a couple of times here as well. Something a little bit fancier. And let's try to copy this one here. And don't get me wrong, single and repetitive vocal chops sound great, especially on drops, but let's try to spice them up a little. And let's try to change this chop here as well, maybe. Too short.
That's what she said!
Let's try this part maybe. Okay, we can chop it because I really like the first part, so let's just copy it and then maybe try to find something here. Nope. Maybe this one will be lucky. Another approach to chop the whole vocal is inside simpler. Well, at least it was, because I found something better. So for this particular technique, we will need to grab a whole vocal here, then right-click and choose Slice to New MIDI track. You can choose how many slices you want. I will go with a half note. Half note, which gonna give me a total of 34 slices, then simply press OK. So we have a whole vocal. Now double click to go to the MIDI editor, delete all of those notes, then go to Generate tab and choose Seed option. Now you need to determine how many slices you want. I will use all of those pre-chopped ones I have here, and play with density maybe, or regenerate the pattern. Now listen, I don't get why so many people are getting triggered whenever the MIDI tools are mentioned. If something can give you a starting point or inspiration, it is dumb to not to use it, stay orthodox and try to reinvent the wheel. Let's say I want those two notes, and then if I want to generate something here, I can just mark this region and simply press generate. So let me just try this part and then decrease the duration to make those notes a little bit shorter. See, I made something completely different based on my starting point with MIDI tools. And speaking of starting point, let me show you another method and device which completely replaced Simpler for me, at least in terms of chopping and sampling. So I use Granulator to make vocal chops in two main approaches. First one is kind of similar to the technique with audio I showed you. So basically I will need to make a pattern or rhythm with those MIDI notes. All the magic sits inside the position knob. And once you're gonna automate it for the single chops here, you can come up with very, very cool vocal chops. Obviously, to spice things up, you can also automate other knobs, and what I recommend is playing with this grain size one. Let's try sync it with the tempo. Okay, I'm trash when it comes to syncing it to tempo with milliseconds, so let's just use a converter device. So let's go with 1/8 and then go once again to the grain size, so 172. Edit value 172 once again. Approach is actually quite similar, but instead of making those chops and coming up with rhythm, draw a simple note from the start to the end of this clip. Then simply freeze and flatten or resample if you want, and combine the method which I showed you with the original vocal. So let's just slice it to new MIDI track. The process is similar here. Let's just mute it and then generate. Obviously we have less slices because the loop is actually shorter. I really like this part, so let's just try to copy this one here. Do you also hear it saying Chihuahua? Now if you ever watched at least one of my videos, you know that resampling and chopping methods doesn't end there, because you can